What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas back with you on a Tuesday night. It is July 8th. Welcome to News 6 Weather. We are live. We are taking comments. We're with you on YouTube, and we are with you on News 6 Plus, of course, and clickorlando.com. Thanks so much for being here. If you're new to the show, please post in the comments where you're tuning in from. We do that every night. If you have any questions, burning questions about anything, of course, we take those as well. Certainly, if you have any questions about the weather forecast, we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show as well. And we'll talk about everything that you need to know. Again, hope you guys are having a great evening tonight. We're taking a live look tonight in Marineland above my head. Every now and then you can see a lightning strike as we just got rid of a couple of thunderstorms out there. One of those exiting the Flagler County coastline, and then also in Denellen just below me there. There was nothing even remotely close to the I-75 corridor as expected. Those live looks tonight and always brought to us from our friends at WeatherStem. So over the next 20-ish minutes that we're hanging out together, we are live every single night at 9:30, Monday through Friday. We're going to talk about those rain chances. Again, they've been limited at best. We talked about that. So far, the forecast has worked out pretty well last night and tonight. Now, I think tomorrow those rain chances start to tick back up again. We're going to take a look at the higher resolution future radar to show you where the best chance for some rain is going to be. And then we're going to get into the tropics. The third week of July, we touched on this a little bit as we started to venture into the long range as part of our long range forecasting segment on Monday. Now the Climate Prediction Center is also highlighting that area as well, as they're kind of beyond the 7 days that the National Hurricane Center forecasts. So we're going to get into that. And then, of course, any comments you have, we always end the show with some of that. So get ready to sound off, post in the comments, whether you're on clickorlando.com, the chat box is there, or what a lot of people do is dial it up on News 6 Plus and then also have the YouTube feed open so that I can pull comments over like Jody's. I'm doing well tonight. Hope you are doing well also this evening. Good evening, Kevin, my friend in Lakeland. CW Stidham says, dust in the wind. Must have saw the dust model there. We could have some of that Saharan dust coming right back down the pipeline. Jody needs to know the 7-day forecast. I think I have you covered on that front. Okay, so let's get into what's going on now. And again, post in the comments where you are tuning in from. And we're going to get into the radar first. This is what's out there right now, and it is not much. We have one lone storm now. So if you were watching the shows yesterday and watching tonight, I hope you were, starting at 4 o'clock through 6:30, we talked about it was going to be along and then to the east of I-4, we would have the shot for a couple of storms. Well, we had one up here that exited that way. And now we have one lone storm hanging around Kissimmee St. Cloud back toward Point Siena tonight. That's where the thunder and lightning is. This is also another good example of the bolt from the blue, although it's not really blue because it's dark outside. Look where that lightning strike is. The storm is way over here, but if you were outside in St. Cloud, look how far away from the parent thunderstorm that lightning strike came. There are actually two of them there. There's a small one and a big one. Kind of butted up, maybe just one. One lightning strike there near Nolte Road in St. Cloud. So that is our lone storm tonight. I think tomorrow at this time when we talk, we're going to be doing a lot of extra tracking, and I will show you that. We might have the storm mode fired up tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I'm a little skeptical about the coverage because we do still have some drier air, but I'll show you the setup and we're going to get all into that. So again, if you're here for the tropical take, that's going to be coming up in about a little less than 10 minutes. So we'll get into that. And then, of course, we'll take some questions and all that stuff coming up in just 1 second. I want to show you this. Again, Future Radar doing a nice job there, showing literally where that storm is. So the modeling doing phenomenally tonight. Here's how tomorrow could play out. I think we start things off 2 to 3 o'clock, I-95 corridor, maybe a couple of downpours elsewhere with the heating of the day. Then we start to get the party started a little bit more. And then one of those late night deals could be coming through. So here's the setup, and I'll show you the bigger picture in just 1 second. We finally have kind of two things forcing one sea breeze in and the other sea breeze in at the same time. So we have that Bermuda high. It's inducing the wind out of the east. So we have storms fire about right into here, and then they get pushed in that direction. Then also out over the Gulf, we have high pressure building. Let me see if you can see that H. There we go. It's off the screen. We have high pressure building out there. So then when storms fire right in this area, they get forced that way. Well, right about in here is the collision zone. And that's where we get the widespread storms because we have air converging in from the east and west. Well, the air can't go into the ground. The only place it has to go is up. And then we get that air forced up. It rises, it cools, condenses, it produces clouds. And then if it's rising fast enough and it's unstable enough, we get those thunderstorms to develop. And all of that looks like it's coming together for tomorrow. There's still some dry air out there, but I think with the double forcing mechanism tomorrow, that's what's going to change a little bit. And that's what's going to give us the opportunity for those more widespread thunderstorms in the mix. As far as that 7-day forecast goes, rain chances are going to steadily increase starting tomorrow and then really getting into Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. So now it's going to be kind of your typical summertime thunderstorm pattern where we have the storms fire up into the afternoon. It's been kind of wonky the last week. We had stuff starting early last week. We didn't have really anything at all last night. We just a few things. And then same deal tonight. We had one or two downpours, a couple of rumbles of thunder out there, and our lone storm this evening hanging tight around Lake Toho, drifting back toward Point Siena. So it's going to get more typical for this time of the year. So that is going to be your early look at the 7-day forecast there before we break it down at 11 o'clock. And we'll have brand new, fresh, high-resolution model data coming in for you at 11 o'clock. So you don't want to miss that. Again, that always helps to get that next run. It's what I call it's the 0Z run. We use Zulu time in the weather. So at any time we get it's at 8 o'clock this time of the year. And once we get into the fall, it's at 7 o'clock. That's when the weather balloons go up. We get that extra upper air data in, and it gets infused into the models. And that helps us to at least get better confidence in things. So when we get a trend like that, I'm anxious to see how the high resolution modeling carries that with what we see. And that's where, again, identifying the setup helps, because we know that we have a pattern in a setup that is going to be conducive to more widespread storms coming into tomorrow. But now we are going to be watching for the potential for just to see what that high resolution model says. Alrighty, guys, I have to get in a break. That's a thing now. If you're new to the show. So we will be back right here in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be looking long range. And by the way, one of the things that I'm watching this year and kind of watching in real time with you guys is that new Google AI, that DeepMind Weather Lab model. I've shown it a couple times on here, and we were looking at some things in the Eastern Pacific and a few of those weak things that popped up in the Pacific. The next spot to watch for potential tropical development is outside of a week, 7 to 10 days away. We're going to look to see what the Google AI model is suggesting may happen in the Gulf um, for the July 16th, 17th to the 20th ballpark. You won't want to miss that. I am back in 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, we are back live with you on a Tuesday, July 8th. Can't believe it's July 8th already. We are rolling through News 6 weather at 9:30 every Monday through Friday at 9:30. And here we are again. We're talking about, or about to talk about, the tropics. I want to touch on what Jody and Elizabeth are saying. I would not freak out just yet, just because you have a 60% shot for those storms. There's always more to the story with the rain chances. We could see those storms blow up and then move to the west. There's going to be a strong Bermuda high building in. So if that happens, we might be able to generate those storms early and then push those over to the West Coast away from the Disney Springs area. So I would not freak out just yet. That's what I was saying for the 4th of July. There's always more to the story than just looking at those high rainfall percentages, because it's just a percentage. You step outside that day and you get wet. So there's still a 40% chance that you're completely dry, and then certainly at that hour that you want. So again, I would not be too worried or too upset at this point. It does not look like any kind of washout or total loss or all day rain or anything like that. So don't freak out just yet. Alrighty, so we're gonna get into it now with the tropical outlook. And good news on the tropical front, there is nothing developing over the next 7 days. There's still some dust out there. The Atlantic is very stable. There's hardly any clouds in the main development region, which is this area in between the Lesser Antilles and the African coastline. There is this weak little wave out here. Really, no convection, no thunderstorm activity with that at this point. But nonetheless, um, good news on the tropical front in the short term. In the longer term, there's an area to watch. We're going to get into that in just one second. I want to show you the dust that's out there right now. So there's a little bit of dust overhead. Most of that is closer to Mexico, closer to the Yucatan Peninsula. There is this big behemoth blob of brown. That's a lot of bees. But that's what's out there right now in the middle of the central Atlantic. And that's going to try to work its way back over to Florida again as we get into next week. So we're still dealing. This is the third, maybe fourth round of Saharan dust that is kind of ejected across the Atlantic Ocean. Let me turn on this cool little model here, and it shows the atmospheric motions, or pretty much, because that's what's driving the dust over here. So Puerto Rico going to get the thick stuff again, Turks and Caicos into the Bahamas, and then into South Florida by the time we get into the weekend. So this is 7 o'clock on Saturday evening, and we have more dust potentially getting ready to work its way up. One of the things that I would say here, we kind of talked about this last night with the landfall with Chantal in the Carolinas. One of the active storm tracks that I think once we get the hurricane season going, and I really do believe it's going to be quite some time that we get the real meat and potatoes of the season going, is this track towards the Greater Antilles, the Turks and Caicos, into the Bahamas. And this is the second plume of dust now that's kind of followed that track thanks to a pretty strong Bermuda high. So we're going to be watching that closely, and let's hope that it's not setting up there by the time there's something out there, because that's going to have the tendency to, again, to send it further to the west. We want those things to curve, baby curve, for sure. Keep those things away from land. In the kind of short term, I guess the medium range here, we're looking at the potential for some tropical development in the July 16th to July 22nd timeframe. National Hurricane Center forecasts out 7 days. Climate Prediction Center puts their hand in more of the long range, more of the climate stuff. So they're looking at some of the teleconnections across the world. And they're looking at some of the other longer range modeling, and they put their take on some of the things. So we talked about this last night. This map came out today, and it highlights the upper Gulf, the Gulf Coast of Florida, all the way to about Houston, with a 20% or greater than 20%. So there's a 20 to 39% shot that a tropical system develops within that pink area. Okay. Again, nothing to really write home about at this point. It's just something that's highlighted there. Would not go crazy over it. One of the things, though, I do want to show you are some of the ensembles. Remember, I always say at this stage in the game, ensembles are the way to go. And you see what happens here. This is the European ensemble. Look at the L's. Each one of these L's represent a possible storm location. So this is now going to be on July 16th, and there's a couple of L's popping up and a few more. It's not many. That's as far as it goes out. It goes out 10 days. So this goes to where we are at this point. So there are 51 members of the European. How many lines are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So only 4 ensemble members out of 51 on board. That's a pretty low percentage. The GFS is a little bit higher. We'll take that out. GFS goes a little bit longer. So you see a few more things. And one of the trends that I've seen is for this to kind of skirt west across the North Gulf Coast if it gets going. So it's something to watch. But a few more members online on the GFS. Now, as promised, we have the Weather Lab from Google. So what we're looking at here are blue dots to pop up. There are 50 members of the Google DeepMind Weather Lab model. Okay. Um, so we have all of this to watch. The more blue dots, the more of the Google AI model is online out of those 50 members to potentially, again, give us an area to watch. So this is going to be on July 16th, and we're going to go forward in time and look at all these little blue dots pop up. They're kind of hanging out in the Northeast Gulf right there. So the Google model is on to something. It's trying to latch on that there is something there. There's going to be a dip in the jet stream coming down. The water is very, very warm. It would make sense that models are trying to hint at possible development, whether it becomes tropical or not. That remains to be seen. How impactful it is, that also remains to be seen, as it's 10-ish days, give or take, out. But just something to be mindful of course, now that we're getting deeper into July, golf becomes a little more in play and all that stuff. So we're always looking 7 days and beyond to kind of watch trends and just see how the weather pattern shakes out. Have a couple of good questions on the chat room. I have to hit another break. I will answer those in our sound off segment of the show. If you have any questions on what we just talked about, our local weather, or anything in the weather world, post them in the comments right now and I will answer them in about 3 minutes. I'll see you in a second. Alrighty, guys, we have about 4 minutes left to hang out together. Any questions, post them in the chat, and I will get to them. So the question is, or doesn't WKMG have their own forecasting system, or am I mistaken? No, you are not mistaken. We have our in-house model, we call it. It's from our vendor that we get our pretty weather graphic system from. They run their own model, so that is our in-house model. That we use. So it's another one of those things. It's another tool in the toolbox that we have to look at when we are making our own forecast. So that's the beauty. Again, all of the modeling that we have are all tools in the toolbox. It's guidance that we use to put the daily forecast together. A little too early to say right now, Jody. She's asking if they should go to Disney Springs early or later on into the 15th. It's kind of a different setup. That Bermuda High looks like it's going to build a little bit. That would argue to push everything to the west. So give me some more time on that. That's about 7 days away, and it's kind of unclear right now. It would make sense still that earlier the better, but there's also going to be that dip in the jet stream. So remember that the tropical system that is a potential. We're not going to be impacted by that on Tuesday, but that system that could end up helping to brew something up in the Northeast Gulf, that could be coming down to help to enhance some rain and thunderstorm chances. So a little too far out for me to make that call right now for you, but I'll keep my eye on it for you, and I will let you know as I see this materializing and if how far to the west that Bermuda High builds. All right, love to hear that. I think so too. Of course, not perfect, but we certainly do our best, and we try to get down into the nitty gritty. In this one, our in-house model does very, very well with hurricanes, and that's one of the things that we look at big time. It did very well with Charlie back in 2004. Former Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells swore by that, and one of the things that I've learned from him was the use of that, especially from southbound to northbound hurricanes. It does very, very well. So hopefully we don't find ourselves in a situation where we're tracking a hurricane through the Caribbean and into the Gulf this year. But if we do, that is certainly going to play high in the forecasting range of where that goes. It did okay with Helene last year. I think it was a little bit too far southeast. I think it missed Helene a little bit, but it did very well with Ian. It did very well with Charlie back in 2004. Not the greatest with Helene, but it did okay. And again, that's why they're not always perfect. Not one model's ever going to be perfect. And there's always nuances, so it's important to look at everything. And that's one of the reasons why I love this show so much, because when we're doing some tracking, I don't have time to kind of go through all the scenarios on the TV side. But here we can have this this conversation, and we can break some stuff down, and we can get real into it. And I love doing that with you guys and just answering the questions and just hanging out. I think we're having fun. So you guys make this show awesome, and I can't thank you enough for coming here and hanging out with me every night at 9:30. So far, no severe weather in the mix, but if anything, it would be into the afternoon. Zachary's still watching from Long Island tonight. He remembers Irma and Ian. Both of those are bad. Some of the worst, unfortunately, in Florida history. Alrighty, guys, I have to run. Have to get ready for the 11 o'clock show. Thank you a ton for tuning in. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow, 9:30. Come with your questions. We're going to talk much more about the increasing rain chances, and we'll see. We'll check in on those ensembles again tomorrow and see if more are coming online or if we have it kind of washing out when it comes to that potential thing into the Gulf. I hit the desk too hard. That was not an earthquake. The potential thing in the Gulf post 7 days, closer to the 17th to the 20th time frame. Thank you guys. Be safe. I'll see you at 11 o'clock on News 6.